and salutations, my dearest friends, and welcome back to Trope Week. What Trope Week is that every single day for an entire week, I pick one specific romance book trope and I give you a ton of recommendations. Today, we're going to be talking about marriage of conveniences in romance books. Hello, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. It is another day of Trope Week. We are coming to an end of this week where I have partnered with different YouTubers to give a bunch of trope recommendations, and today I'm going to be doing a video with Christy. I am so excited. I reached out to Christy to ask if she wanted to do the video. It was like one of the top ones I had on my list because she's the queen of historical romances. I honestly feel like Christy is like an encyclopedia of historical romances and romance books in general. Her Goodreads is so well organized. She organizes things by trope. She writes detailed reviews. She reads so freaking much. It's actually pretty fascinating, and I love her. I love her channel. I'm just so incredibly happy that I met her and that she's doing this video with me. I will leave her video down below as well as her channel. Please go follow her. She deserves so many more followers because the amount of effort she puts into her recommendation videos and her TBR videos and her wrap videos is phenomenal. Recommendations and her reviews are so detailed and so incredibly happy, and like I said, she reads a ton of historical romances. So I will leave her video down below. Let's hop into the recommendations. We're going to talk about marriage of convenience today, and I feel like this trope fits beautifully with historical romances because it just makes more sense. I feel like the stakes are a little bit higher because of the time. So what a marriage of convenience is our couple is literally getting married out of convenience, not really love. It could be money, it could be protection, it could be for an inheritance, because they're friends and neither of them really want to get married, so they're kind of like using each other. The list goes on and on. The possibilities are endless. And like I said, the stakes in historical romances are just higher. So I feel like it makes more sense with this trope. But I do have some contemporaries that I will throw towards the end. It will not be a marriage of convenience trope recommendation if I didn't mention Devil in Winter by Lisa Kleypas. This is her fourth book in the Wallflower series, and it follows Sebastian and Evie. This is kind of like a fan favorite. This is definitely everyone's favorite in the series. Of course, you guys know my favorite is Again the Magic, but this one is a close second. So real quick, this entire series, the Wallflower series, it follows a group of friends who are wallflowers. They're always like at the edge of the crowd, one reason or the other, whether it's because of their age, because they're shy, or because of their class status, they are wallflowers. They're not the diamonds of the season, and they kind of like band together to help each other find husbands, and they become friends, and it follows all of their stories. And this one in particular is Evie. She is the shyest of the group. She has quite a bit of inheritance, a lot of money that she inherited when her dad passed away, and her family's terrible. They're treating her horribly. They're both mentally and verbally abusive to her, and she wants to get out of that family dynamic, so she needs protection. So she ends up reaching out to Sebastian, who is a little bit of a villainous character in the books prior. I don't really want to do any spoilers. He's a viscount. He comes from nobility, but he is lacking in money. His father has spent his entire inheritance, so he has a title but really no money. So Sebastian ends up marrying Evie for her money, and Evie marries him for protection and to get away from her family. And they go into this marriage of convenience, and oh my gosh, I love this book so much. Our hero is a relentless rake. He's a little bit of a villain, a little bit of a bad boy. Everybody loves those heroes, you know, in historical romance because their redemption, and when they realize how much they love our heroine, it makes it all the much sweeter. Love this book so much. Miss Tessa Dare loves her some marriage of convenience, so we have two to recommend right here. The first one is The Duchess Deal, which is a classic. I read this book because of Rachel from Rachel Reads and Sings. It's one of her favorite books, and this one I actually got signed by the author. See? How freaking cute. I was able to see Tessa Dare at 2 book signings, and she signed this one. This follows our characters, the Duke of Ashbury and Emma. Emma is a seamstress. Ends up creating this very elaborate, very expensive wedding dress, and she doesn't get paid for it because the person who bought the wedding dress ended up canceling the wedding and not getting married, so she did not get paid for all of her hard work. So she's determined that she's going to get her money, so she puts on the wedding dress, marches up to the Duke's house, and demands payment. Demands it. Our hero was supposed to get married, and the wedding was called off, and he needs a duchess. He's looking for a duchess, but he's like a very scarred, reclusive hero, and he propositions her to be his duchess. a marriage of convenience. He needs an heir. She needs money. Seems like a win-win to me. Of striking a deal, there's like a bunch of rules that she will provide him with an heir, he will provide her with some shmoney, and of course they fall for each other. It's like a grumpy sunshine romance. Our heroine is a very like vivacious sunshine heroine who just like exudes light, and our hero is like this grumpy scarred hero, but together, the cutest couple ever. I adored this one. The next one is Any Duchess Will Do. Miss Tessadeer loves her Duchess books. And this one is also signed. It says, "For Samantha, only you will do," because it's Only Duchess Will Do. How adorable. So this one is a part of the Spindle Cove series. I think it's the 4th book in the series, but you don't have to read it in order. Duke Griff is really being pressured to marry again because of an heir. It's always because of an heir or because of money. And his mother is really pressuring him to marry, and he doesn't want to marry. So he ends up meeting our heroine at Spindle Cove. Spindle Cove is kind of like a refuge for like spinsters and women who don't want to get married. He meets our heroine Pauline, who is a barmaid, so there's a little bit of a class difference. She needs money and he needs a wife, so they end up getting married, and there's a marriage of convenience. He doesn't really prepare our heroine for everything that being a duchess entails, so yeah, he has a little bit of groveling to do. I talked about this book in my Groveling Heroes recommendation video earlier on this week because our hero definitely grovels in this book. It's fantastic. Our heroine is what you would consider like a blue stocking heroine. She loves to read. She's incredibly smart. She wants to start like her own lending library, and I just loved reading about her. She was such a joy of a heroine. The banter in this book is also really great, so I think this one is a really good one. Next marriage of convenience book that I want to talk about is A Beastly Kind of Earl by Mia Vinci. This is in her Long Hope Abbey series, but again can be read out of order. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. So our heroine Thea, she is kind of like the black sheep of her family. A couple years ago, some men created lies about her and ruined her reputation, so her family kind of like kicked her to the curb. But she's very close to one of her sisters, and her sisters is being forced into a marriage to an earl that she does not know and does not want to marry because she's in love with someone else. So our heroine pretends to be her sister, so her sister can go like marry the love of her life, and she pretends to marry this earl, and she's really using the earl's status and nobility to better her reputation. She wants to make sure that everybody knows the truth, and she wants her reputation back. So she pretends to be her sister, but she kind of has like an ulterior motive, if that makes sense. And she's also like a huge trickster, loves to play practical jokes. She's hilarious, but she is kind of like tricking the earl into thinking that she is her sister, while the earl kind of already knows what's going on. He already knows that she is lying to him, but he does not care because he needs to get married in order to get his inheritance. Again, money. It's either an heir or it's money. One of the two. His great-grandmother wrote a stipulation that in order for him to get the large sum of money and the inheritance and the land, all of the good stuff, he needs to be married and have an heir. He decides to go through this like sham of a marriage to get his inheritance, but of course they fall for each other. This is another grumpy sunshine pairing. Our heroine is literally the definition of a sunshine heroine, literally always playing around, making jokes, just having the time of her life. And then our hero is again a scarred, distressed hero who's been through it. His ex-wife passed away, and a lot of people like blame him for that death. So this book is wonderful. I do really enjoy it. I think Mia Vinci is kind of underrated. So those are some historical romances. Let's go ahead and talk about a fantasy romance, and that is Radiance by Grace Draven. This is a friends to lovers / marriage of convenience, and I adore this book with my whole heart, body, and soul. So our characters come from completely different realms, completely different races, and they are both a part of royalty, but they're not really like in the heir of succession. They're like second, third. But to create peace in the town and between their kingdoms, their families decide to put them together in an arranged marriage, a marriage of convenience, so that they can unite the kingdoms. Well, they don't even like find each other attractive. Culturally, they are so different. They don't find each other attractive. They don't like the same things. They don't eat the same things. They understand that they're both in this situation because of their family, so they end up becoming friends, like true friends to lovers romance. And in their friendship, they develop an attraction for each other and just a love, like pure love for each other as people. And it's such a beautiful book. Like, there's an existential plot. It is a fantasy romance, but the connection and the chemistry between our characters, The bond. I love it. It's so cute. Talk about some contemporary books. I know that Christy mainly did historicals, so I'll throw in some contemporaries just to add some different recommendations because I'm sure some of our recommendations overlapped. So one that I love is Roomies by Christina Lauren. This follows Calvin and Holland. Calvin is a musical genius, and Holland has seen him play like on the streets of New York and has just been like completely enamored by him. Her uncle, I believe, is involved in Broadway, and she ends up introducing Calvin to her uncle, and he again is a musical genius, becomes this huge star on Broadway, but there's a problem. His visa is about to expire. His working visa is about to expire, so he has to go back to, I think he's from Scotland, and he can't really live in the US anymore. So Holland decides to take one for the team and is like, hey, I'll marry you so you can get a green card and you can be this musical wonderful genius on Broadway. And they fall for each other. I feel like making a marriage of convenience happen in like a contemporary book is really hard because, again, the stakes are always higher in historical romances and just makes sense because of the time. I feel like it's harder to make that work in a contemporary setting. Christina Lauren, of course, knocked it out of the park with this book. I love it. Another one that I thought was really good was Zenny by Rebecca Weatherspoon, and this follows Zenny and Mason. Mason, I think, is the hero's name. Sorry, I'm looking down to read my notes. Zenny's aunt passes away, and her aunt was very famous, and she was very close to her aunt. She left her a huge inheritance and pretty much left everything to Zenny. The property, the money, the family relics, like everything, but there's a stipulation on the will. His aunt wants her to be happy and wants her to be in love and wants her to find someone to live the rest of her life with, and she is convinced that she has found the man for her. So in the stipulations of the will, she says that she has to marry this guy named Mason, who is also like, if he wants to get money as well, it's part of like the stipulation that he has to marry Zenny. So both of them need money. They're like, okay, let's go along with this crazy wackadoodle plan and get married. And they do. And this is another one that like starts as a marriage of convenience, goes into a friend slivers, and then is like a pure romance, and it's beautiful. Rebecca Weatherspoon is such a great author as well. Our hero is such like a cinnamon roll hero. I love him. Our characters are also openly bisexual in this book, so it has good representation, and I love reading about it. So yeah, it's just great. I love this book. My last recommendation for this video is Brutal Prince by Sophie Lark, which is a enemy slivers mafia romance. Our characters are both part of mafia families in downtown Chicago. Our heroine is part of the Italian mafia, and our hero is a part of the Irish mafia. And listen, they don't get along. They do not get along. Our heroine ends up crashing a party at the Irish mafia's house, and she sets like the house on fire. Like, she's crazy. Our characters are literally like at each other's throats wanting to kill each other, but their families are like, hold up, we're not trying to start a turf war. There's other mafia families that are trying to like take our spot. What we're gonna do is we're gonna have you guys marry each other so we can create an alliance. Like a modern day mafia romance that's in a marriage of convenience and an arranged marriage. Our characters literally hate each other. They hate each other. Like in this book, they literally try to like kill each other. But I mean, it all works out in the end. And Sophie Lark's writing is beautiful. This is the first book in the Brutal Birthright series, and it's such a good introduction to the entire series and all of the characters. I loved this series and this book so much that I got a tattoo for it. I have this like little baby strawberry right here on my forearm, and I got it because of this book, because a strawberry is like a key component to this book. So yeah, that just proves my love for Sophie Lark and this book. Alright, those were all the recommendations. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to watch Christy's video. Like I said, I will leave it down below. As always, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend time with me. It means the world to me. I hope you guys are all staying happy and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!